He was living a full life, traveling the world, doing everything possible to enjoy his life and guard his health. He did not want a brain injury. He did everything possible he could to fix his brain injury. But after the crash, he's no longer charming. The before and after witnesses will show you this. We asked Terry to step out during this part because I didn't want to rub his nose in his own problems. And during other parts of testimony from his daughters and some of the other before and after witnesses, Terry won't be in the courtroom. At the end of this trial, the evidence will have clearly and convincingly established that the value, not the cost, but the value of the damages done to Terry Sanderson is $3,276,000. We look forward to showing you all of the evidence.
A family
Objection.
vacation.
No, this is again argument. This is classic argument.
These are facts.
This is closing argument.
Overruled as to the comments that are being made right now, those are facts?
Yeah, and let's keep the interruptions to a minimum, would we?
Well, don't argue then.
Well, counsel,
Thank
go
you.
ahead. I mean, the objections have been valid, some of them.
So, she came for a family vacation. Half the afternoon was kind of ruined. And so that dollar is important to us. It's important to my client. Let me hit a few other things. You've been very patient. I think I said, it's hard to unpack someone, a 75-year-old, who says, I don't think as well as I used to. Heaven help me if my daughters were called to the stand and they say, hey, let's talk about all your dad's mental quirks and problems and his physical health and his deterioration as he ages. I wouldn't want to be present for that. It would be hard. And yet, we're here because Mr. Sanderson is making that allegation, and so we have to do it. So I don't want to look like I'm beating up on a kindly old man, but keep in mind we have to do this because they have said Gwyneth owes me $3 million. I mean, we have to address that.
Put that there.
Seems like evening, doesn't it?
I've been inside all day. I have no idea.
You and me both. Could you state your name and spell it for the record, please?
Yes, my legal name is Gwyneth Kate Paltrow Falchuk. That's GWYNETH KATEPaltrow FALCHUK.
Great, thank you. May I call you Miss Paltrow?
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. As you've seen the last few days, we always have the witnesses give background information, tell about yourself, etc. I have a feeling that everybody in the courtroom knows who you are, so we're not going to go through all the background. We're just going to kind of cut to the chase. Is that fair?
Sounds fine.
All right, wonderful. Let's just talk about skiing. My understanding is that you are pretty much an intermediate type skier.
I would characterize myself as intermediate.
Okay, you've been skiing since you were a child.
I have.
Okay. Do you do black diamonds, blues, greens? I'm not really a skier, so you've got to kind of help me out with this.
I prefer to do more blues than blacks.
Okay. And blue is intermediate, right, under black?
Yes.
Okay. And the bandana run where this accident occurred, it was a green run?
Yes, to
All
my
right.
recollection.
Fantastic. So as an intermediate skier, would you say that you skied enough to at least be familiar with the rules of skiing?
I think so, yes.
All right. And what are those rules?
I think, use common sense, ski safely, be aware of other skiers around you.
Okay. What about skiing in control? Is that something that you need to do?
Yes, absolutely.
You have to give the right of way to those who are downhill.
Yes.
Okay. You also have certain responsibilities if you're in a collision. Is that fair?
Yes, which I learned more about post the collision.
I bet. You've probably been hit over the head with all of that information since the time, right?
Indeed.
Okay. So let's talk about those things. Did you know the rules at the time of the collision that if you're in a collision with someone, you need to give your name and information, contact information?
So because I was hit by Mr. Sanderson and he was at fault, I assumed that Eric, who was our ski instructor, who was there at the time, who was overseeing the event, he said, I'm going to leave all of your information, and he said, you should go ski down because my kids were waiting for me.
And I appreciate that, but my question was, did you know of the rule of skiing if you are in a collision that you need to share that information?
Your Honor, this is irrelevant. This is not part of their negligence claim.
Overruled. Overruled. Go ahead.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. At the time of the collision, were you aware of the rule that if you're in a collision, you need to share your name, your contact information with the person that you're involved in a collision with?
I don't think I was aware of the rule.
Okay. Were you aware that there is kind of a rule of common decency to do that?
I would not have left the scene without leaving my information, and my information was left.
Did you provide that information?
No, Eric Christensen, who was the ski instructor with us, said he would leave all the information.
You don't know if he did or did not, though, do you? You weren't there when he did.
Well, subsequently, I know that he did.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking when you were there at the collision, you didn't ensure that it was given. You weren't there when it was given.
I was not there when it was given.
All right. And it's also, I think you even admitted in your deposition that it's the rule of common decency to make sure that everybody's okay, exchange information, and to follow those skiing rules. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about that day after I get a drink.
Okay. I'll have one as well.
Do you have what? Oh, we have some
I
wine.
do. Thank
Okay,
you.
Great. So I just want to kind of set the stage. You're skiing that day. My understanding, it was a nice conditions, beautiful day.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes? Sorry. And Deer Valley, we know that Deer Valley is always immaculately groomed. Good conditions on the slopes.
Good conditions.
All right. You were skiing that day with your daughter, Apple, correct?
Yes.
Moses.
Mm-hmm. My son.
And Brad Falchuk, who was your boyfriend at the time, now current husband.
Correct.
All right. And his 2 children.
That's right.
Right. And his kids were the same approximate age as yours on the day of the ski collision.
They all remain the same age.
That's a
As each
very,
other.
very good point.
We're like the Brady Bunch. Girls are the same age, boys are the same age.
All right. And back then, it was 12 and 9?
11 and 9.
11 and 9. All right. Fantastic. And the day of the collision, I think you had been to Deer Valley twice prior to that
I believe so.
time? Okay. And this was the first day of your ski trip?
I think that's correct.
Okay. And I don't know how many days you were there, but I know, at least from what you've told us, that after that first day, you also skied the next day.
Yes.
Okay. So when Mr. Sanderson was at home, you were skiing?
I don't know.
Okay. Fair enough. So the children, all 4 of them, had lessons during that trip?
That's right.
Okay. Would you agree that those lessons were fairly expensive?
They were.
Okay. Do you remember about how much they were?
I would have to check. Whatever the Deer Valley rate is what we paid.
Okay. Let me know if this is about right. At least from what I saw in your deposition, the total bill was around $8,980. Does that sound about right for 4?
I think that misstates the evidence. I think that was for both families.
For 4 kids.
I would honestly have to check,
Okay. All right. That's fine.
but it's very expensive.
Very expensive.
Very.
Right. And then tips on top of that.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming, and you're under oath here, that you're a good tipper.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I wouldn't expect anything less. All right, so let's talk about your daughter, Apple. She was 11.
She was?
Okay, and her instructor was Carrie Oakes.
That's correct.
All right. And Apple at the time was a good beginner.
Yes.
Okay. And your son, Moses, he was 9 at the time.
Yes.
And he was more so of a real beginner.
Yes.
All right. And his instructor was Eric Christensen.
Correct.
Okay. And I think both Carrie Oakes and Eric are coming next week.
I believe so.
All right. Fantastic. So 3 days ago, can you believe it's been only 3 days?
No.
Me neither. So 3 days ago, Mr. Owens, in his opening, talked about risky behavior, risky skiing. And he made mention that, of course, Ms. Paltrow was not skiing recklessly, not taking any kind of risky behavior because her children were there that day. Do you recall him saying that?
I think it does misstate my testimony, but
Well, it wasn't testimony that you stated.
my argument.
Can you answer the question?
If I remember what he said?
No, just maybe do you agree with that? That on that day of the collision, you were not engaging in any kind of risky behavior, especially
Correct.
because your kids were there.
I was not engaging in any risky behavior.
Okay, but also, and I think your counsel made mention of this in opening, that especially because your children were there.
I don't recall him saying that.
All right, well, did your children being there make it so that you especially would not engage in risky behavior?
I didn't engage in risky behavior. I wouldn't with my children there or without my children there.
Okay. And kind of in life, I mean, I'm a mom, right? I've got a couple kids, actually about your age, and one of them, not your age, your daughter's age. Sorry, I'm not that old. When my kids are around, I kind of behave myself a little bit better, especially when they were younger, than on average. Would you agree with that?
I've always been very open and honest with my kids, and I think they know me very well.
Right. And would you agree that you have engaged in risky behavior with your children present?
Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure.
All right, let's go back to the day of the accident.
Okay.
So you're on Bandana, correct? It's a green run. It's true you were relatively familiar with that run, correct?
Yes, my children especially like that run.
Okay. And the accident happened towards the beginning of the run. Is that accurate?
Not at the top, but
Sure, but
Yeah.
not at the bottom?
correct.
All right. And it sounds like, from what I have heard and reviewed, you had done about 4 to 5 runs that day, and you and kind of the group were going to go get some lunch with everyone.
Correct.
All right. So let's talk about, as you're skiing down, Apple, we've talked about she was 11, Moses was 9. Did your children, when they were skiing or doing anything that kids do, like to ask you to watch them?
When they were very little, I remember, watch me jump in the pool and things like that. When they were more like 4 or 5 years old, that sort of age.
So when Moses was 9, he didn't say, "Mommy, Mommy, watch me," or "Mom," I don't know what he called you, but
Mama.
Mama, watch me do things.
Not that I recall on that day.
Okay. Do you remember testifying that on that day, that's exactly what did happen?
I don't remember.
All right, and I'll show you your deposition in just a second. So in fact, you remember the deposition, right?
Yes.
It was actually during 2020. It was during COVID.
Yes.
So it was via Zoom. We've never actually met in person. It was kind of on the video. And you were asked a question a number of times. Were your children asking you to watch them? And you said no. I think you.
I don't remember them saying
Okay.
watch me on that day.
Okay. Well, do you remember that in that deposition, then we played you parts of Carrie Oakes's deposition?
So, Your Honor, this is improper impeachment. I mean, what's the question that's being contested?
We're just kind of going through the history here.
Not through the deposition. Let's hear.
I'll allow a few questions. I think counsel was referring to what was going on during depositions, but
Yes.
please get quickly to the
Abso-
question.
Absolutely. Do you remember during your deposition being played just a portion of Apple's instructor, Carrie Oakes, her deposition, wherein she said that, yes, Moses was saying, "Mommy, mommy, watch me."
That she was saying, I don't remember, that while they were skiing, they were saying that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that, no.
All right. Okay. And so you don't remember then changing your testimony in your deposition, admitting that that is what happened?
I'm sure if Carrie Oakes said, I'm saying, I don't remember him saying, watch me, watch me.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to hand you a copy of your deposition.
I'm going to need my reading glasses, unfortunately. Sorry about that.
I don't think there's a contradiction here, Your Honor. She said she doesn't recall that Carrie Oakes said something. So I don't know why we can't just move forward.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Thank you. Could you turn, let's see here, to page 122 of your deposition?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to read the question that was given by Mr. Sykes. Everybody's going to know it's Mr. Sykes who asked the question when I read it. Then I'm going to have you answer. Now, Ms. Paltrow, and this is, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm starting on line 4.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Ms. Paltrow, isn't it true, I'm just a country lawyer here, okay? Isn't it true that your kids wanted to watch you ski? Or, pardon me, that the kids wanted you to watch them ski. Isn't that true? And your counsel, he objected. How did you answer that question?
Let's read the objection, Your Honor, if we're going to do this.
The objection was vague as to time.
Do you want me to rule on the objection? I mean,
If we're going to read it, then we should read the objection.
Okay, read it.
Yes, the objection said vague as to time.
Yes.
Yes, and then how did you respond?
I said I can still watch my children ski and be skied directly into my back by someone,
And then you continued.
which is what happened.
Exactly. So you were watching your children when you alleged that you were skied directly into your back by someone.
My daughter was down the hill. My son was to my left, so I was skiing. My eyes were not fixated only on my son when Mr. Sanderson skied directly into my back.
Okay. And so when Miss Oakes, who's going to testify next week, said that your son Moses was saying, "Mommy, mommy, watch me," that's who you were watching, right?
That's vague as to time, Your Honor.
Right. Yes.
Just overruled. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry, what was the question?
When Moses is saying, "Mommy, mommy, watch me," that's who you were looking at when you were when you were skied directly into your back.
I do not recall Moses saying, "Mommy, mommy, watch me" on the ski slope.
Okay. Well, Apple was down further, right?
Yes.
She didn't see it.
No.
Okay. And Moses, he was the one, at least according to Carrie Oakes, was calling your attention.
Okay.
Okay. 9-year-old, did he want more attention to have somebody watch them rather than 11?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Moses was skiing above you, though, right? He hadn't gotten down as far as you.
He was on my left.
And up.
I was on the right. He was, sorry. He was on the left side of the slope. Yes, I believe kind of a little bit uphill.
Okay. And that's where your attention was when you were hit, allegedly, in the back.
I don't know where my attention was the moment I was struck in the back. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, that's what you said, which is what happened.
He struck me in the back. Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Okay, I know, but you said, I can still watch my children ski.
Yes,
and he's
meaning
directly into my back by someone, which is what happened.
Yes, exactly.
What's the pending question? It sounds like they're saying the exact same thing.
What's the question?
The question is, you were watching your children ski when you were struck in the back.
So that's asked and answered, Your Honor.
Overruled?
I was skiing and looking downhill as you do, and I was skied directly into by Mr. Sanderson.
And your 9-year-old son, you will admit, was on your left and up a bit.
To my recollection.
Okay. All right. And Carrie Oakes is the one who says that he was the one calling your attention.
You'll have to speak to Miss Oakes.
We will. All right. So, I want to go through the accident a bit. Because we did this over video, we didn't really get to act it out a whole heck of a lot. But I want to just kind of talk with you first and see if this is your recollection of how it happened.
Your Honor, I think this is improper. She should just ask her what happened. Then if she testified contrary to that earlier, then she cross-examines her with the deposition.
And what's the objection?
Improper use of deposition testimony.
It's a party. Under Rule 32, it can be used for any purpose. You may
Okay.
proceed.
Thank you. You were going along relatively slowly. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to kind of ask you a couple
Sure.
questions. So let me know if anything I say is not accurate.
Okay.
So you're going down relatively slowly when all of a sudden you heard a strange rustling noise behind you.
Yes.
Okay. And you felt like a rush of air in a strange way.
Yes.
Okay. And 2 skis slid in between my skis.
That's correct.
And all of a sudden, there was a body from the whole front of a body pressing into my back.
That's right.
Okay. Like, we'll talk about this in a minute. And there was a man behind me pressing into me. How did you know it was a man?
Because he was making some strange noises that sounded male, and he was large. So I assumed it was a male.
Okay, he was large?
I felt all my back
Okay.
pressing.
Okay. All right, there was a man pressing behind me, pressing into me. I was extremely upset.
Well, I was confused at first, and I didn't know exactly what was happening. It's a very strange thing to happen on a ski slope. And then
I agree.
and I froze, and I would say I got very upset a couple seconds later.
Okay. Let me just continue on here. I just want to make sure that I got this all right. I didn't know if it was an intentional assault of a sexual nature.
Right.
Okay. Was he grinding and thrusting or something, or just the noises? What made you think it was a sexual assault?
So that was a quick thought that went through my head when I was trying to reconcile what was happening. I was skiing, and 2 skis came between my skis, forcing my legs apart, and then there was a body pressing against me, and there was a very strange grunting noise. So my brain was trying to make sense of what was happening. I thought, is this a practical joke? Is someone like doing something perverted? This is really, really strange. My mind was going very, very quickly, and I was trying to ascertain what was happening.
Okay. And I think you said, I didn't know if it was an accident, but he was groaning and grunting in a very disturbing way.
Yes, there was a sort of groan coming out of his mouth.
Okay. Then you said, I froze.
Yes,
We kept skiing.
right.
We went to the right.
Yes,
We came crashing down together.
that's right.
Okay. You said this man was behind me on the mountain. My knee and our skis were still sort of tangled up.
Yes.
Is that yes?
Yes, sorry.
Our bodies were almost spooning and I moved away quickly.
Yes.
And my knee splayed open, and I was completely in shock.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to stop there.
Okay.
And if the court and Ms. Paltrow, if you don't mind, since, again, when we did this over Zoom, would you mind stepping down and us kind of acting this out a little bit so I could get a good feel?
Let's see. Can we approach Your Honor?
Sure.
Doesn't want you to come down, so I'm not
Your
going to ask
Honor,
you to come down.
that's inappropriate. The judge sustained the objection, so she shouldn't comment on what I want. It's what the judge wants.
The objection was sustained.
I am going to try and be both you and Mr. Sanderson at the same time.
Let's
Fair?
have Bob. Bob can
You know what?
be.
Your Honor, let's have Mr. Sanderson. He's here. Let's have him come.
I don't want to. We're not going to reenact what happened. I think you can ask questions, and
Yes.
if you want to stand and move around in order to help
Perfect.
you with those questions, you can do that. But that's as far as we're going to go.
That's not a problem at all. All right. So since you're not down here, may I ask how tall you are?
I'm just under 5'10".
Okay. I am so jealous.
I think
'cause
I'm shrinking though.
you and me both. I have to wear 4-inch heels just to make it to 5'5".
Well,
so
they're very nice.
Well, thank you. So, all right. So, as of right now, I'm Gwyneth Paltrow.
Okay.
Okay. I'm skiing down. Can you tell me with my legs? I don't know. Again, I'm not much of a skier. Are you snow plowing? Are you parallel? Kind of orient my legs first of all. Sorry. I can do this. I can do this.
Not snow plowing, just
Okay.
skis.
All right.
It's hard for me to see where you're standing.
May she come down just to see?
You can.
Is that
walk to where
okay?
you can see better. Or you can walk further forward, Ms. Van
Oh,
Orn.
sure. Great. No problem. All right. So,
Well, not, but the jury can't see that.
The jury, you can go ahead and stand or move wherever you feel you need to see what's going on here.
all right. So, are my feet oriented correctly?
Yes.
Go ahead and tell me how to move them.
I think, skiing down, going to the right.
Okay. So
Okay,
about
probably a little bit further apart.
about like that.
And then 2 skis slide slowly between my skis.
All right. So my feet are about what, a foot apart? Would you say 18 inches?
Probably.
Okay. And you believe that 2 skis slid right between.
That is correct.
Okay. And so all of a sudden you see these 2 skis coming in between your
Yes.
legs. I would have freaked out too.
And I did.
Okay. So the skis are coming. How far did the skis get in between your legs before you guys fell?
His body pressed up into my back.
Okay.
So I froze. I don't know exactly how far the skis would have come through.
Okay.
Because then I noticed his body pressing against my back.
Okay.
And then it was probably a few good seconds, and then we fell to the right. Somebody must have caught an edge.
Okay. So when you froze and you're skiing together, I think you said at one point it was like you were spooning.
Well, when we fell down, I fell on his body, he fell on the ground, and so it was kind of like a spoon on the ground.
Okay. So
Your Honor, the defendant has come into well of the court here.
Why can't we see it to the plaintiff? That's fine.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
okay. Well, now that Mr. Sanderson is here, and I don't need you to do anything, Terry, but just for comparison's sake, I'm in my heels. We're about the same height, about 5'5" with heels.
It's roughly.
Oh, tell me I'm taller, please. Okay, we've got Mr. Sanderson that's about 5'5" that comes in back of you, and you said that you felt something huge. What was your word
No,
behind you?
just a big body.
A big body. All right. And was it just the front of his body that touched the back of your body?
I couldn't see in the back of my head,
Sure.
but I felt a body
Right.
press against my back.
But there was no grabbing, like he didn't like grab your waist or grab your
No,
arms?
not at all. No,
Nothing like that?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. So, skis slide between you kind of freeze, you end up, maybe your skis kind of cross, you end up going down. Would you agree that Mr. Sanderson fell to the ground and then you fell on top?
I don't know if it was simultaneous. I don't remember.
Okay. But you didn't fall and hit the ground, correct?
I don't remember exactly where I hit,
Okay.
but I fell over
All right. And
with Mr. Sanderson.
right. And Mr. Sanderson fell and hit the ground.
Yes.
All right. So going back here, you guys are on the ground. Now you realize, right? You're not saying to the jury that this was in any way, shape, or form a sexual assault.
I am not saying that.
Okay.
I'm just saying what went through my mind for a split second when it was happening.
All right, great. So you're down on the ground, and then you started yelling at him.
I don't remember if I started yelling at him while I was on the ground. I remember pushing away because I was very upset and it was still very strange to me what had happened. And I pushed down the hill and I turned around and I yelled at him.
Okay. Did you scream before you went down?
I don't think so.
Okay. So if others heard a scream, you wouldn't, that wasn't you?
No, I froze. When he slid between my skis, I absolutely froze. And I don't remember yelling or screaming until I was very angry at what had happened.
Okay. And so you guys are on the ground, and then you said to him, I think you don't know if you were up or if you were still on the ground, but he was still on the ground, right?
Yes.
When you said, "What are you doing?"
Yes.
Okay. Like, why did you do that?
Yes.
And he said, "I think you skied into me."
Yes.
And that's when you were furious and said, "You skied directly into my effing back at the
Sorry.
top of your lungs."
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I apologize for my bad language.
And well, in fact, you were screaming that so hard, you were worried that Moses was hearing you.
Yes.
Okay. And after you were screaming to him, isn't that when Mr. Sanderson said, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry"?
He said, I said, you skied directly into my effing back. And he said, oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Right. And that was you screaming at him while he's on the ground still, right?
I was yelling at him.
Pretty loud, pretty forceful,
I was pretty upset.
right? You're
Yeah.
small but mighty. Actually, you're not that small. So when he said, "I'm sorry, would you agree that he kind of mumbled it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then you remember Eric came over, Eric Christensen.
Yes.
Who was Moses's instructor.
Correct.
Okay. And that was when you were concerned that, oh gosh, Moses is close by. He's hearing me yell obscenities at this man.
Which is not my custom.
Right. And I think you said that. And at some point, the man stood up and we were all sort of talking.
Yes.
What conversation did you have with Mr. Sanderson standing up?
I wasn't having a conversation with him. Eric was helping him up and asking if he was okay.
Okay. Eric eventually yanked him up, right? He pulled him up.
He helped him up.
Okay. He didn't get up on his own accord.
He helped him.
And were you still standing right there when he helped him?
I believe I was, yes.
You sure you hadn't skied down a little bit?
I might have skied down a little bit. My son was down a little bit, and my now husband came over at some point.
Okay.
I remember moving away from Mr. Sanderson after he collided into me and we hit the ground.
Okay. And do you remember, we heard from Craig Ramone, he was the first individual who testified. Do you remember him coming to the scene?
I do not.
You don't remember him at all?
No,
You don't remember him being there or asking you, "Are you okay?"
I do not.
Okay. You don't remember him asking Terry if he was okay.
I don't recall.
Okay. All right. And then I think what you've said is Eric told you, I'm going to handle this. And that's what I think you've said people do. They handle things for you.
I don't believe I said that.
You've never said that?
I believe what I said was in the acting world, that's a world of representatives. So you have an agent who represents you. And so if they say, you know, I'm going to provide information, you allow somebody to represent you. So when Eric, as an accredited Deer Valley ski instructor, said to me, I'll fill out the paperwork, he knew also that my daughter was at the bottom waiting for me to come for lunch or at the lunch place.
And so Mr. Christensen handled it for you.
Mr. Christensen stayed and filled out the report, made sure Mr. Sanderson was okay, and said to me, you can go ahead.
Okay. How do you know that if you weren't there?
Because he told me.
Okay. That's what he told you.
Yes.
But you weren't there to see it.
He told you you can leave. He wasn't there. Objective form. I don't understand.
Criticism well. Do you take criticism well?
In my profession, after all these years of being in the public eye, I think I take it relatively well.
You keep sending me notes. I didn't cause these damages.
That's
Right?
absolutely correct.
Do you feel some empathy for Mr. Sanderson and his declining brain?
You know, I really do. I feel very sorry for him. It seems like he's had a very difficult life, but I did not cause the accident, so I cannot be at fault for anything that subsequently happened to him.
So his daughter got up and said he was cursing out her daughter. Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
Did you cause that?
I did not cause that.
Did you give him brain injuries that were evident on his MRI in 2006?
I did not.
All right, let's start on a happier note. Let's bring up that picture of you and Moses. And while that's coming up, did you personally take a selfie with you and your son?
I take selfies with my kids all the time, yes.
All right, and we're going to pull it up in just a minute. You know what picture I'm talking about. Did you
Yes.
personally take that photo
I did.
on the day at issue?
I did before the accident.
Okay, and it's hard to tell who the 9-year-old is there.
Thank you.
Are you on the right or left?
I'm on the right.
And Moses is on the left.
Yes.
And are you going up the ski lift?
It looks like it.
This is Defense 86. If we haven't moved for its admission, I would like to do so.
No objection.
Defendant's 86 is received.
And I notice, do you have a helmet on there
I do.
and goggles?
Yes.
Did you always that day while on the slopes?
Yes.
Mr. Ramon testified, for instance, you were not wearing a helmet or goggles or any face covering whatsoever. True or it's not true?
I think you can see the evidence that I was wearing a helmet and goggles.
So answer my question, please.
Sorry.
Is it true or not true that at the time of the collision and in the aftermath, you were or were not wearing a helmet
I was.
and goggles?
Correct.
Did you ski at all that day without a helmet?
No.
Is that for anonymity? I'm saying it wrong.
Anonymity.
Thanks for saying that. And also for safety or both or what?
It's for safety primarily, but yes, I like to, when I'm skiing, try to keep a low profile.
You were asked about. Well, let me back up even further.
Okay.
You told me you learned to ski at Alta.
I did, actually.
Tell me a little about that.
My father was, he loved skiing, and he had learned later in life. And so he was determined for my brother and I to learn how to ski when we were young. And he used to do these really sweet one-on-one ski trips with us where he would take us to various destinations, and Alto was one of them.
And then he died young, true?
Unfortunately,
And
yes.
did you stop in his 50s? That's how I'm in my 50s, but
I'm in
did
my
you-
50s.
Did you
It's very
stop
young.
skiing for a while?
I did. I was pretty devastated by his death, and just being in a ski resort and on a chairlift, it was difficult for me. So I avoided it for a few years until I had my own kids, and then I heard his voice in my head thinking I should teach them how to ski.
And Brad Falchuk, you were dating him at the time,
Yes.
and now married to him?
Yes.
Were you skiing with the Coldplay guy, according to Ramon?
No.
Who's the Coldplay guy?
The Coldplay guy, I believe, he's referring to my first husband, Chris Martin. He's the singer, and he's a guitar player and a piano player in the band Coldplay.
Thank you. And did this kind of blending of the family's trip have some significance to you?
Yes, this was a significant trip for us. It was the first time Brad and I were introducing our kids and doing something together as to see if we could blend families.
There's an implication that at the time of this collision you were distracted. Were you distracted?
No,
Were you paying attention to where you were skiing?
I was.
Was there anyone in front of you?
There was not.
There's an implication that somehow you're looking at Moses up the hill to the left while you're skiing downhill. Were you doing that?
I was not.
Carrie Oakes of Deer Valley does say something in her deposition about the kids wanting you to see them or something. Were you in fact, did you all meet at the top of the hill?
I think we were 6 in our group plus our ski instructors, so we would always meet that day at the top of the chair and kind of plot out where everyone was going.
Great. Okay, the 6 people, let's just make sure we know who they are.
Myself, Brad, my stepdaughter Isabella, my daughter Apple, my son Moses, and my stepson Brody.
Okay. And then you had paid for each of the 4 kids to have their own individual instructors.
They were all very different levels, so Brad paid for his kids and I paid for mine.
All right. The $1 that I'll probably waive in closing, but not this minute. Were you planning to ski the whole day?
I was.
And did you send a little text after lunch?
Yes.
Can you bring this up? And I'm going to get this board.
Has it been admitted?
So good question. D110 is the text.
Any objection?
No objection.
Exhibit 110 for defendants is received.
These are kind of hard to see, and James is going to bring it up.
D110.
It's 83A is the better copy, I guess.
What are you showing?
So, Gwyneth, do you have a defense binder there?
I just have my deposition.
And so, let's give her ours. I'm going to hand you this binder. Can we move to admit 83B?
No objection.
Defense Exhibit 83B is received.
It's a little hard to see.
Okay.
And James, can you blow up the last sort of, yes. I think we need to go back just a little more to put a date on it. Do you recall I asked you, hey, did you text anyone that day? Do you remember this?
Yes.
And this is your own personal cell phone copy?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and there's a date.
sorry, it's a bad copy. February 24, sorry, February 26, 2016. Is that in fact a true and correct copy of your phone screen?
Yes.
And who were you texting with? Do you recall?
Eric Christensen, the ski instructor.
All right. So we went down Bandana. So you'd already been down that very. Oh, my board. I'm gonna get my board in case this is better copy. All right. Okay. Cool. Which one's you, on the right or left? Do you know? The green.
Eric is the green, and I'm the white.
Okay. Cool. We should take north side up ? That's you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's go back out. And in the afternoon, let's go with the. Okay. Let's keep going down. Oh, let's go Ruby left. So you're coordinating a little bit
Yes.
on the mountain in real time, correct?
Yes.
And then, sorry, James, I'm testing you out here. Moses wants to know if you are still skiing and where. All right, so it's 2:29,
Mm-hmm.
and this is, no one's thinking lawsuit yet, right?
No.
And that's you on the left with the G, and
Yes.
it says, can you read it?
It says, I came in. That guy sort of hurt me. I'm going to get a massage at 3. Gigi is here if he wants to come.
Okay, Gigi was helping with the kids?
Yeah, Gigi was our babysitter.
All right. Did you go in earlier because you had been hit?
I did, yes.
Did you personally pay for a ski pass at Deer Valley?
I did.
And was it a full day pass?
It was.
And was it, is the monetary difference between the full day pass and the half day pass more than $1?
It is.
Ms. Van Orman kept saying when you were allegedly hit. Were you hit?
I was hit.
The definition of an assault is an unauthorized touching.
Yes.
Did Mr. Sanderson touch you in an unauthorized manner?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
You may. Dane, you should disregard the question.
Did he touch you without your permission?
He did.
The sexual part, by the way, that's just for a split second. You're thinking, what's going on here?
Yes, I was trying to put together what could possibly be happening behind me.
A scream. I think there are a couple witnesses that said they heard some noise.
Yes, when we fell.
Is it impossible you let out a noise upon being hit?
I think it's impossible that I let out a noise upon being hit because it was a very slow move. It wasn't an impact. The impact came when we fell on the ground. So it's very possible that when the impact was made, I screamed. But I do not recall making a sound until we were falling or on the ground.
Okay. So a collision, when I think of two skiers hitting each other, I think of a hit and then sort of separation between the two.
Yes.
Is that what happened with you?
No, this was very strange. It was a slow in between my skis with his skis, and then like 1,000, 2 1,000-ish, and then a fall.
The defense has prepared an animation exhibit that will be shown next week. Have you personally reviewed that?
I have.
And does it accurately state what you believe has occurred that day?
Yes.
Now, it's not precise in the sense that it's not actual video of the event, right? But it does a good job of sort of setting the stage
Yes.
and animating what occurred.
There needs to be some clarification as to what part of the animation he's referring to.
Agreed. It's sustained as to vagueness and
Sure.
therefore relevance.
Sure. Have you seen the animations?
I have.
All right. Not every witness saw everything. Fair to say?
Fair.
All right. For instance, you didn't see anyone in front of you, but you felt someone behind you?
Yes.
So you wouldn't possibly know, for instance, where Sanderson was coming from.
No, he was behind me.
I'm trying to satisfy the
Pardon me?
prior.
Objection leading.
Sustained?
I'm- Does the animation fairly represent your story?
It does.
One thing Craig Ramon said is that Mr. Sanderson was out cold for 2 or more minutes. Do you recall that testimony?
To be honest, he's said so many different minutes, so many times, I don't recall exactly.
All right. Assume that he said minutes, that
Okay.
he was literally unconscious for minutes. Did you observe that?
That Mr. Sanderson was unconscious for minutes?
Yes.
No, he
Or-
was not.
Or unconscious at all?
I don't know. Based on what I've heard from the doctors, you can be unconscious for a split second, so it's possible he was for a split second.
So, where were you as you go down the hill?
On the right side of Bandana,
Was there a reason you were there?
I just tend to try to, especially on a crowded run, I was trying to ski, a little bit to the side and make turns.
Were you being an aggressive skier? Like, I'm gonna go
No.
as fast as I can to get
This
down.
is a green run with lots of families. Absolutely not.
It's a green run, but it's not a bunny run, right? It actually, it's one of your favorite runs?
It was one of my kids' favorite ones. They were learning.
Gotcha. Because it comes down quite a ways.
It does. It's a nice long run.
And was this toward the top, do you recall?
It was toward the top, but not at the top, if that makes sense.
Would you have observed, first of all, did you personally look and see Mr. Sanderson
On the ground?
after the event?
Yes.
And was he unconscious when you saw him?
No.
Then they're saying Eric Christensen, the Deer Valley person, came over.
Mhm.
Did you observe that?
I did.
And they're saying that he yelled aggressively toward Mr. Sanderson. Did you observe that?
He did not yell at Mr. Sanderson, no.
He's going to testify on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
From your interactions with Mr. Christensen, is that consistent with his personality to be aggressive like that?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for character evidence.
Sustained?
How many times before had you interacted with Mr. Christensen?
Well, it's a while back now, but I know that we had him teach my son Moses on at least one other occasion. He was always incredibly kind, very patient. My son was a beginner and frustrated that he couldn't ski better faster, and Mr. Christensen was incredibly patient and sweet with him.
He's a high school art teacher, I guess, on the side, or
Yes.
one of the other.
He makes pottery.
There was an early comment about a hit and run. Did you hit and run?
Absolutely not.
And Deer Valley was dismissed on that. Was a prior party and was dismissed. Do you recall that?
That's correct.
I think there was an allegation that Eric Christensen did some funny business with the paperwork to protect you, his paying client.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Sustained.
Did you expect Eric Christensen to falsify his paperwork?
Of course not.
Agent and representative in the legal world, I can tell you, is a little different maybe than in the acting world.
Right.
This idea that when Eric told me to leave, I felt okay to leave.
Yes.
Just comment on that. Was that a cover-up?
No, certainly.
Your Honor, relevance.
Sustained.
Was Eric Christensen your legal representative on the mountain?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled on that.
Go ahead.
No, he was not.
Did you stick around for a while after the collision?
I did indeed.
Going back to the $1, Eric Christensen, you had paid Eric Christensen to teach your son how to ski that day for the full day, true?
Yes.
And was his attention diverted as a result of your collision?
Yes, for a while.
And that $1 of damages, does that also take into account that fact?
I haven't quantified, if you break it out, what a Deer Valley ski instructor makes per hour, but I think it's more than $1.
The comment was the word symbolic was used, but did you in fact lose $1 or more as a result of the collision?
I did.
Did you hurt yourself? I'm sorry. Did Mr. Sanderson hurt you by hitting you?
He did.
And please explain.
Well, when we fell over, my right knee felt like it had been overstretched and my back hurt.
All right. And you got a massage but did not seek medical care. Is that what I understand?
I did not.
Eric Christensen's going to testify on Monday. He's going to say words to the effect that he heard and turned. Ramon similarly said that, didn't he?
I believe he did.
He wasn't focused just on Terry right before the incident. He heard and turned and saw them a group go down, correct?
That's what he said.
Sustained.
We'll let the jury remember then.
To strike that question if that wasn't even a question.
Yeah, the question, the answer, and the comment afterward are stricken. You should disregard.
Moses and Apple are coming, and Brad on Monday morning.
They are.
Missing school to do it.
Apple will be missing school, unfortunately, and Moses will be on spring break, so he will not be.
You've heard, next week you will hear from our experts, but do they 100% support your version of what occurred?
Yes.
And I said your version of what occurred, but I do mean to say what occurred. You know what occurred, right?
I absolutely do. I was there.
When they say, did anyone witness this, and Mr. Sanderson doesn't really remember things, you remember things, don't you?
I do.
Sustained.
Were you knocked out?
I was not knocked out, no.
Do you have memory loss of the event?
I do not. I mean, it was a long time ago, but...
That's fair. One moment, please.
She said it'll be clear. And so when I came over the edge of the hill, there were heads bobbing in the middle. It was just compacted with little heads and big tall heads, and I just diagonaled. I went straight over to the right edge of that run.
And is that where you stayed prior to the collision?
I did. I stayed there the whole time because it was wide open.
So you were over to the right side to avoid the people. Did it have anything to do with your vision? There's been a lot of discussion about your right eye problem.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But skiing on the right side of the run, did that have anything to do with your right eye?
Yeah, maybe that's one of the things, yes.
Okay. We'll talk about your vision in just a couple minutes, but I want to focus on the collision right now. Craig Ramone, he just testified.
Oh, yes.
You saw him. He also testified last week. How well did you know Craig at the time back February 2016?
He was one of maybe an average of 15 people, 10 or 15 people would come, so I shared his company during those times. And I knew him only as being an amazing skier, strong skier, and knew that. And I appreciated the fact he tended to like to follow the group and be behind as the protector, because he brought a lady that was a person I knew that was his neighbor. So he would bring her up and ski behind her as a protector. So good guy.
Did you guys hang out a lot before this collision?
Of course, at lunch, we spent time together. And there may be a couple of other occasions where we met with him, but usually there was somebody else there along with us.
Okay.
So I don't remember being exclusive with him.
All right. So, Terry, take the jury through what happened in this ski collision. Take it from, say, getting off of the lift.
Yes, happy to do that. It was really a very nice day for skiing, and I was really looking forward to it. And of course, Deer Valley has amazing groomed runs. Found that out right away. And so I'm starting from when I get off.
When you got off of the ski lift.
Gotcha. So I was on a chair with probably 4 people. I think Joanne, Debbie, Craig, and there could have been another person besides myself. And we had already met and discussed going down the right side of that run, or going down the sides. And so I came over the top of the hill and saw that and headed for the right side, and I'll pick it up there. And everyone just kind of dispersed, some more to the right and more to the left. And I remember looking and seeing no one. And generally, beginner runs, people are afraid of the off-piste, of the off-groomers, and so they stay away from that area where the snow is piled up. And off-piste can be a rough ride. If you have to divert and run out in there, some skiers can't make it through there easy. It's a lot of bumps. So I went right down the run and started just making nice soft turns and staying within that boundary. It could have been as much as 5 yards wide, but it might have been more like 5 or 6 feet. Can't imagine and can't remember. Lots of room. And so I'm just skiing easy and paying attention, and all of a sudden in front of me is 2 big signs. I've never seen that big of slow down signs. It seemed like they were 4x8, like a 4x8 sheet of plywood size high, with great big letters, slow down. I went, whoa, and I'm looking around, and the crowd's about the same as me, and speed-wise. And
So did you pay attention to the sign?
I did. And I backed off of whatever I was doing, and then another big sign, like 10 feet away, the same 4x8 sheet up there, big letters. Well, they're serious. Must be lots of merging trails down here. So I just backed off, and again, the skiers were on my left. We're all about the same speed. And I could see down where the edge of the run went, it curved around, a tree line came out a little bit, and the run curled around, and I could see about half of the, I don't know if it's the Montage or the Empire, could about half of that beautiful building, and it was wide open. There was nothing in front of me. And so I came around that corner, and it takes my breath away to think this is hard, because I don't like going through this scene. I just remember everything was great, and then I heard something I've never heard at a ski resort, and that was a blood-curdling scream. Just, I can't do it. It was, ah, and then, boom. And it was like somebody was out of control and gonna hit a tree and was gonna die. And that's what I had until I was hit.
That's what was going on in your mind.
Overruled?
That's what's going on in your mind when you hear that scream.
That was instantaneous. Oh my gosh, somebody's out of control. And they're really seriously out of control. Not time for a hockey stop. I didn't go think about that, but most people could avoid that, I think. Good skiers.
Okay. And I'll move on.
Okay.
So you
All right, I think overruled. He's overruled.
thank you. So you hear this scream.
Yes.
What happens next?
You know, I got hit in my back so hard, and I'm right at my shoulder blades, and it felt like, and was perfectly centered, and the fists and the poles were right there at the bottom of my shoulder blades. Serious smack. Never been hit that hard, and I'm flying. I'm absolutely flying.
Now, you're not airborne.
Well, all I saw was a whole lot of snow, and I didn't see the sky, but I was flying in that sense. I had no control. And I remember this thinking, okay, you really got to hang on. And then I thought about the crowd on the left, and I thought, I don't know who's wanted over there, and I do not want to get them mixed up in here. And I've heard, that maybe that's not decided about how my ribs really got hurt. I absolutely lurched with what little I could off of my skis a little bit more to the right to make sure nobody over here got involved on my left side. And then it was like the ground's coming up, nobody in front of me, just me going to the ground, and you're falling far further than 90 degrees like you'd fall on the floor. You got that extra, and so it's quite a ways to hit the ground. And I just said, okay, you got to protect your face, and your head, and that's the last thing I remember. It didn't happen. I did glance over and saw, just out of the corner of my eye, I could see, not glance over, but I could see somebody going by, and I'm going, okay, they're safe. Last thing I remember, everything's black.
Did the person who struck you land on top of you?
I wouldn't know that. I absolutely would not know that. I was just surprised. I had no upper body strength enough to be able to catch myself. I had no idea.
Do you remember hitting your head on the ground?
No, that part, no, that's all gone. I just remember my arms collapsing, and that's the last thing I remember.
What's the next thing you remember?
I'm getting an adrenaline rush here, I guess, living this again. Just being here and present, too.
And let me just stop you really quick. You said you're getting an adrenaline rush. Is this something that you enjoy?
Adrenaline rush? Not this
No.
kind.
Yeah.
Not now.
Okay. All right. So what's the first thing that you remember? Or the next thing that you remember after
Well,
you're
yes.
on the ground?
The first remember is everything is still black, like I'm unconscious, but it's like my subconscious is going into protection mode, like, you better pay attention here and listen to what's being said to you. And all I could recognize was that someone was really angry at me. And it was a man, and it didn't come out clear in the beginning. I couldn't really hear what he was saying, but I just knew he was mad, and he was right above me, right close to me. And I'm feeling a little afraid, and I tried to move, and I could not move a limb. I couldn't move my head. I couldn't move my body. Nothing was responding. Just this message I was getting. And the next thing it became a little more clear, and I heard him say, "Do you realize that you weren't skiing under the rules? You hit somebody, you hurt somebody," and just insistent that I was the bad guy. And that's why I said, this has got to be a husband or boyfriend that's really mad at me, and I sound like a big...
Did you know who he was?
I had no idea. No idea. It was just a very angry person trying to bully me into believing something that I didn't think could happen, was I heard a woman's voice, right? Again, couldn't move. And about the third time he went through that, and it's getting louder, and I started to understand what he was saying, and he was really insistent that I was doing something wrong and hit somebody. And I remember in desperation, because I couldn't move anything, I couldn't fight. I couldn't flight. Who's going to try? And I tried moving something, and I could move my skis a little bit. I could just feel just below my knee. I could just slide my skis a little bit. And that's an important point. My skis are still on. They're still on. And I'm thinking, I got to placate this guy. He's really mad. If he decided he wanted to jump on me right now, he could finish me off. I remember saying, I'm sorry.
Okay, now you're
Twice.
You're whispering.
I know
that,
I am,
but
because
maybe-
that's what I heard. Nothing was coming out. My lips were moving, my tongue was moving. There was nothing coming out of my mouth, and my heart rate went up again.
And
Okay?
it looked like what you were mouthing was, "I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. And I was just going, I can't believe it. I thought, try again. I'm sorry. Nothing was coming out. And to me, I heard nothing.
When you kind of mumbled, whispered, whatever you want to call it, "I'm sorry," was that you apologizing for causing the accident?
No, absolutely not. I was trying to placate this man in the only defensive manner that I could.
Okay. You've talked about the man who was yelling at you. Miss Paltrow last week talked about, admitted that she was kind of cussing you out as well. Do you remember any conversation that you had or anything that she said to you?
Absolutely not. There was one voice that my brain was focused on. Thank God, I guess. And that was self-protection, I guess. I only heard a male voice, a mad, angry male voice. I heard nothing. Maybe that happened before I came to that point in consciousness.
Were you still on the ground at this time?
Still on the ground, absolutely, face down
Okay.
on the ground.
How did you end up getting up?
Well, that's a story too, but basically, I heard Craig saying, "Terry, are you okay?"
Now, this is Craig Ramone.
Well, at that point, I didn't identify his voice. Things were a little strange yet, and I heard, "Terry, are you okay?" And about the third time it hit me, somebody is here to help me. I didn't at that point, except an angry man was there, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" And I went through, and I looked up, and I could see Craig standing there above me, 8 or 10 feet, and on his immediate left, my right, was a man in an all-green outfit and with a helmet on and ski goggles, and looked good. And I thought, oh, he's here to help me, right? He looks like he's from Deer Valley, and so I was going through the things, answering his question about. That were my thoughts. Now back to my injuries. Craig is saying, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Oh, my ribs are so sore. There's just this really deep, throbbing purple pain here." And then I said, "My vision is swimming with sparks," and they were unusual sparks. I'm going, "Is that my retina? Is that my eyes?" And it wasn't a retinal detachment, a retinal hole, or anything. And I'm going, "That's my brain." I'm thinking, those sparks on my brain.
And all this time, you're still on the ground.
The next point is that after I tell him about my ears going, my ears are buzzing. Oh, and my brain is like it's on Novocaine. And then I realized, oh, I'm not seeing. Oh, you know what? I missed a spot, and that's where I looked up and couldn't see them and got frightened about that. And I realized, going, oh my, what's going on? And then I went like this and go, oh, I was happy I could see. So I missed that part. That happened before I started telling what all is wrong with me, answering his question. And then Craig said to me, as I remember, of course, my brains are a little bit stretched out of place, and I remember him saying, "Do you know who you are?" And what I thought I said was, "Oh my gosh, I can feel this pathway in my brain. It's going around and trying to figure out who I am. And yes, I know I'm Terry." And then he said, "Do you know where you are?" And I said, "I know I'm skiing, but I don't know where I am." And that's when the man in green took off. I was kind of noticing that he really wasn't interested in what I had to say. He wasn't asking questions. He was standing there rather stoically, head not moving, goggles on, just resting on his poles and his skis, and was sort of disinterested. But when he skied off, my heart sank, because I really thought he was the one person that was there to help me. And I'm laying on the ground with my head downhill, and I couldn't see where he went. So I was really
Terry, how'd you get up?
The question is how I got up, and that might have been the question in the beginning. But
Right. How did you get up?
you know, I realized that I was getting cold, and snow was packed in around me. I was starting to get a little shivery, maybe from a little shockish maybe, and I got to go. I got to get my skis downhill. And I started sliding my skis around and my legs around. I think Craig must have been shell-shocked about this guy leaving too. I don't know but what he thought, but I remember getting my skis around, and it's so painful every time you have to contract your...
Terry,
Thank you.
how did you get up?
Thank you. That is one of my habits. I just focus. After I got halfway around, a man showed up in front of me, and I thought he came from the right. And I don't remember if he said one word to me. He just reached down and grabbed me and jerked me up on my feet, which I was not ready to be up on my feet. My head's swimming. I'm in pain, worried about falling down again and breaking a rib, puncturing a lung. He gets me up, and I'm on the edge of the run, so it's bumpy. It's hard to get my skis under me, and I'm stomping down the snow and trying to get them in a spot. Got my poles wedged in, and I think I've got it in stability, and he's gone. And this time, I could see him. I could watch him go all the way down the hill. And I'm up. I'm standing up, but am I feeling safe? No.
Thank you. We'll now have the clerk read the verdict. You can just read the question and the answer.
Okay. Was Gwyneth Paltrow at fault? No. Was Gwyneth Paltrow's fault a cause of Terry Sanderson's harm? Oh, no, skip that.
There's just no response there.
Okay. Was Terry Sanderson at fault? Yes. Was Terry Sanderson's fault a cause Gwyneth Paltrow's... Did Terry Sanderson's fault cause Gwyneth Paltrow's harm? Yes. Comparative fault. What % of the fault do you assign to Terry Sanderson? 100%. Damages. What amount fairly compensates Gwyneth Paltrow for economic damages? $1. Signed March 30th, 2023.
Thank you. So to juror number 19, the foreperson, is this your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And the attorneys have asked that I poll the jury, and so I need to ask each one of you if this is your verdict. This is not an unusual thing to happen. It happens quite often. So number 16, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 11, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Number 8, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Number 2, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
I've already covered number 19. Number 28, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Number 29, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
And number 32, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. So to the attorneys, is there anything further before I discharge the jury?
Nothing for the plaintiff, Your Honor.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you to the jury.
Let me just read you the last jury instruction. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this trial is finished. Thank you for your service. The American system of justice relies on your time and your sound judgment, and you have been generous with both. You served justice by your fair and impartial decision. I hope you found the experience rewarding. You may now talk about this case with anyone you like. You may be contacted by the press or by the lawyers. You do not have to talk to them or with anyone else, but you may. The choice is entirely yours. I turn now to the lawyers and to the press and ask them to honor your wishes if you say that you do not want to talk about the case. If you do decide to talk about the case, please respect the privacy of your fellow jurors. The confidences that they may have shared with you while deliberating are not yours to share with others. Again, thank you for your service. You may now retire. And if everybody else would please remain here, we've got some things to do.
All rise for the jury.
May be seated. So I've got a few things I'm going to do with the parties, and then I'm going to ask everyone who's still in the courtroom at that point to remain seated while the parties leave. So anyone who wants to be outside when the parties leave, please do that now. So Mr. Owens, I'm looking to you to prepare a judgment on the jury verdict.
Perfect.
Will you do that?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Sykes, is there anything further for the court before the court adjourns?
No, my client just wants to say thank you to Your Honor for the effort you made to. Okay?
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Owens, is there anything further from the defense before the court adjourns?
No, thank you, Judge, and to all your staff and the bailiffs.
Let me just comment that I appreciate the professionalism that all the attorneys have shown and the parties, so thank you. This court is now adjourned. Thank
Could I
you.
let my client slip out before?
Yes, everyone remain seated while the parties leave.
I'm going to make a quick statement. Ms. Paltrow is not going to be making a statement today.
So you can make the statement outside, Mr. Owens.
I will do that.
Okay.